That stage meant being difficult to win, but and I got unsure as well, and time was going, and then was too late to stop, so I carry on, and it cost us valuable points. But as much as was a mistake from telling me to stay out, was also my mistake not to come in immediately. So it's learning.
Senna still has an 8-point lead in the championship ahead of Prost and Berger, but with only the best 11 scores from the 16 races to count, and with Mansell, Alesi and Piquet well into double figures, the title is a long way from decided. In Mexico, the correct choice of tyre was critical, as Ayrton Senna found out. And here in France, tyres are going to be very important too, as Jonathan Palmer explains.
With fronts 13 inches wide and rears 18 inches, these Formula One tyres are clearly vast compared with this from a family car. But first, just in case you've always wondered, these slick tyres, as used in dry conditions, are bald because tread is only required for water drainage. These are the wet weather tyres. It's not just the size that provides the phenomenal grip. The rubber itself is relatively soft and therefore sticky. The softer this rubber mix, the compound, the more grip the tyre will have, but the trade-off is that it will not last as well, with the extreme being super grippy qualifying tyres designed to last just one blistering 3-mile lap, vital for a grid time, but expensive at £1,000 a set. In contrast, in order for the race tyres to last 200 miles, the compound must be much harder, with a consequent loss of grip, perhaps 2 to 3 seconds a lap. The tyre companies, though, bring over 4,000 tyres to each Grand Prix, in various different compounds, and each team has to assess its own optimum tyre. No easy task. Teams can decide whether to run one set of hard tyres throughout or 2 sets of faster, softer tyres, which will require a time-consuming pit stop when they lose grip. And even though the tyre change itself can be lightning fast, a further 20 seconds is normally lost entering and leaving the pits. The tyre's role, though, is more than just providing grip. Running at a very high temperature, 110 centigrade, and a relatively low pressure, 18 psi, they also act as an important spring. Indeed, most of the visible car movement comes not from flexing springs, but from squashing tyres. the old abrasive Paul Ricard circuit was a real tyre eater. Now, with a new smooth surface, no one can be sure how the tyres will perform.
Sunday morning, Nigel Mansell gets the massage before stepping into his Ferrari on pole position. Ferrari on 99 victories. Could they make it 100 here? Let's look at the grid.
Well, here's the grid. Mansell and Berger on the front row of the grid. Senna and Prost on the second row. Senna bumped off, deciding to stay on regular race tyres in final qualifying on Saturday. You saw that on Eurosport, of course. Nannini and Patrese. And Capelli way up now. Suddenly Leyton House's fortunes have changed. The circuit certainly helps them here. Boots and very smooth circuit. Then Piquet and Gugelmin. Bernard and Alio. Alio driving the Ligier. Hoping to get those Renault engines next year. Alesi and Suzuki. Alesi the highest place of the Pirelli runners, and Pirelli certainly seems to be in trouble here. Nakajima and Warwick. Derek Warwick went much quicker than that during testing here a couple of months ago, just behind Derek Warwick, keeping him honest. Martin Donnelly, of course, he made his Grand Prix debut here last year, standing in for Derek Warwick in the Arrows team. And then Michele Alboreto in the Arrows. Then Nicola Larini and Stefano Modena. I was told by one of the engineers that Larini is not the best of car sorters. Andrea De Cesaris, saw him have an incident in practice, and Alex Caffi coming towards the back of the grid now. Two Italians, Pierluigi Martini, Emanuele Pirro, and on the back row of the grid, young David Brabham, the youngest man in the race, and Yannick Dalmas, who lives just 5 kilometres down the road at Le Biosay.
The race coming up in just a couple of minutes.
Com este piso e este calor. Entretanto, na Tyrrell temos que Jean Alesi parte com pneus duros, os Pirelli de 94 e a Martini, Pierluigi Martini, parte com a mistura mole, os pneus 93 da Pirelli. Pirelli, que diga-se de passagem, foi aqui claramente inferior em termos de resultados à Goodyear, o que não tem acontecido. Os carros nas pré-qualificações, por exemplo, os carros equipados com pneus Pirelli têm-se mostrado superiores aos Goodyear e por isso a sistemática qualificação de carros com pneus Pirelli. Aqui os pneus Pirelli estiveram pior do que os pneus Goodyear. Enfim, é natural, as misturas de borracha reagem de modo diferente à textura do piso e esta era uma incógnita para toda a gente, já que é um revestimento completamente novo. Estamos a ver já imagens dos pilotos que integram a grelha de partida e aqui já passou a primeira fila composta por Nigel Mansell, conforme o José Pinto referiu, detentor da pole position, a primeira ao serviço da Ferrari com 1.04.4, ao lado de Gerhard Berger, depois Senna e Prost. Ayrton, Senna e Alain Prost, de quem muitas coisas se têm dito em termos de futuras transferências, mas a verdade é que tudo aponta que tanto Senna permaneça na Ferrari como na McLaren, como Alain Prost permaneça na Ferrari. Se acontecer alguma alteração, Adriano, e estamos apenas no campo das hipóteses, isso só se verificará em 1992. Ainda em complemento daquilo que o Adriano disse relativamente a este novo revestimento da pista, ele de facto permitiu este novo asfalto, este novo tapete, que toda a gente rodasse mais rápido que a antiga pole position, que era exatamente pertença do Nigel Mansell desde 1987, quando o piloto conduzia o Williams Honda, era 1.06.454, Portanto, agora esse tempo do próprio Mansell passou para 1:04.8. Em testes, recorde-se que já este ano, em maio passado, nos testes realizados aqui em Paul Ricard, o Alain Prost com o Ferrari rodou muito melhor do que esta pole position do Nigel Mansell, 1:03.810. Mas, naturalmente, que esse tempo tem muito a ver, para já, com o antigo asfalto. Ele só foi colocado depois desses testes, e também com a temperatura que se fazia sentir na altura, muito menos calor, portanto um piso muito menos abrasivo do que este. De referir também que, segundo os responsáveis do produtor americano de pneus, a Goodyear, é provável que, independentemente das opções de cada piloto, que se efetuem duas paragens nas boxes, o que significa que iremos ter uma corrida muito movimentada. Estando nas paragens das boxes, sobretudo para quem fez a escolha de pneus Cs, relativamente à escolha dos Bs, os pneus mais duros, é bem possível que ela faça ao limite a uma paragem, mas vamos aguardar, vamos ver o que é que o desenvolvimento da corrida nos dá. Esta corrida promete, de facto, ser bem movimentada, bem disputada e, por que não, termos aqui algumas surpresas em termos de resultado final. Há muita gente que necessita de todos de fazer pontos, fará uma corrida de expectativa, no sentido de aproveitar o desenrolar da mesma para se ficar por um ponto, 2 pontos, que seria muito bom, particularmente para aquelas marcas que andam desesperadamente à procura de fugir às pré-qualificações. De qualquer modo, Adriano, em relação aos homens da frente, especialmente às duas equipas principais nesta altura, à Ferrari e à McLaren, enquanto na equipa italiana se verifica um grande otimismo, por parte da McLaren nota-se que nem tudo corre pelo melhor. Na verdade, quer no decorrer das 2 sessões oficiais de treino, quer nas 2 livres, quer ainda no decorrer da warm-up desta manhã, os McLaren não conseguiram evidenciar-se como noutras corridas. Essa superioridade pertenceu quase por inteiro aos homens da Ferrari, a Mansell e a Prost. O próprio Senna e o próprio Berger esta manhã não completaram o warm-up. O Berger teve uma saída de estrada e ficou com o seu McLaren imobilizado, enquanto que o Ayrton Senna viu partir-se com um tirante de direção, não conseguindo completar também o seu warm-up. Portanto, muita expectativa.
Mario, sei in onda?
Grazie, potete vedere nelle immagini le posizioni delle varie telecamere. Sono 16 lungo il circuito, 3 agli stand, 4 sulle vetture montate sulle 2 Williams Renault, e sulla vettura di Bernard ci sono 2 telecamere, una volta verso l'avanti, una verso il posteriore. Mentre vedete inquadrato Senna, vi do subito la buona notizia, per chi ancora non l'avesse saputa attraverso il televideo, che Prost e Mansell sono stati stamani i più veloci nelle prove di warm-up. Dopo di loro Bernard, che monta, come vi dicevo, sulla sua Larus Lamborghini le 2 telecamere anteriore e posteriore. Quindi Patrese, Senna, Putz, Nannini, Piquet, Alesi, Capelli, Donnelly, Suzuki, Agliò. Dobbiamo arrivare al 17° posto per trovare Berger. Ma soprattutto c'è da notare che stamani hanno avuto grosse difficoltà le McLaren-Honda, e entrambi i piloti sono usciti di strada nel tentativo di superare le 2 Ferrari di Prost e di Mansell nei migliori tempi. Vi dico subito che il tempo di Prost è stato di 1:07.779. Mentre parte il giro di ricognizione, darei subito alla linea Ezio Zermiani per sentire le ultime novità degli stand.
Ecco, le novità dei box sono queste: grandi pre-tattiche, gran mistero, soprattutto in casa Ferrari, dove per la prima volta sono state addirittura occultate con un cerotto.
On tyres. Yes, we've got the Ferrari tyre set up there, going to go on the softer seat compound as well, but McLaren have chosen to go on the more durable B, so it is really a race of strategy, and nobody is quite sure which choice is going to be the correct one. We'll find out very shortly, because he who makes the wrong one is going to be into the pit very quickly indeed. Well, now everybody on the warm-up lap.
What about this situation with these Leyton House cars suddenly vaulting up the grid, John? And that's quite a surprise.
Yes, because in Mexico they were just totally uncompetitive. Now here at Paul Ricard, they're very competitive, and although there have been many changes to their cars, I think the circuit in itself is part of the reason. It's a very smooth surface, and it allows the aerodynamics of the car to work efficiently. There's no bumps to disturb it, and I'm not entirely sure that that's a realistic position they've attained this weekend. They've got to do it over the next 4 or 5 races to say categorically that they've actually made some improvements.
It's because they have a new designer, Chris Murphy from Lola. That was announced just a couple of days ago. He can't have made those changes so quickly, can it? It's not possible for him.
No, not literally the mechanical or aerodynamic changes. He may have introduced a slightly different philosophy, and as we see from the Lola Lamborghini, the car he's responsible for, it's a very, very good car indeed, and especially at Paul Ricard. Bernard being third this morning, but being competitive throughout the weekend.
Yes, on Thursday you went to see the opening of their new factory. Very impressive it is too. Team not actually fully moving into it until the end of the season after Australia. Seen quite a few interesting people in the paddock here this morning. Kenny Roberts hot-footed it from the Belgian Grand Prix, motorbikes of course, where his team won both the 500 and 250 race. And you caught up with an old mate of yours, Nicky Lauder, John.
Yes, Nicky Lauder, a teammate of mine in the early 80s and the late 70s for that matter. I met him about 2 months ago at the Willie Dungle training camp, and he said, "What's Grand Prix racing like these days then, John?" I said, "Why not come along and have a look? You'll enjoy it." Yeah, I'll do this. So I thought he might come to Imola, but he's here at Paul Ricard.
Well, the race just about to be off. Balestra standing there with Mr. Starter. That's Roland. Well, these are tense moments, even for the most experienced drivers. You wait. Engines revving. Going to shake our commentary box. We're right outside this lot. In fact, you can just see our commentary box on the far right-hand side of the picture. 80 laps scheduled. 2.369 mile circuit. This race will run 189.5 miles. 305 kilometres, a long way, red light. Off they go. Good start from Mansell. Excellent start from Mansell off the pole. Looks a fairly clean one, but the first corner always dodgy. The Leyton House all locked up. Capelli, that was going down the inside, but it's Mansell leading. Prost second. No, it's Mansell leading. Berger second. Senna, I think, third. Then a Benetton. Here we are with Thierry Boutsen. Looking backwards off one of the Lola Lamborghinis. Well, fortunately, we had a clean start into that first corner. It's always a trouble area, but everybody got through. There was not even the sign of fiberglass flying from the front wings, a very vulnerable part of the car. So thank goodness we've had a nice clean start. Yes, in fact, Ivan Capelli nearly mucked it all up, went sliding down the inside with all his tyres locked up, but he managed to avoid everyone. There at the back of the field, or not quite the back of the field, the two Brabhams running together, Modena and David Brabham. David Brabham off the back of the grid must have made an excellent start, and Gerhard Berger has catapulted himself into the lead. Berger pulling away, and Ayrton right in Nigel Mansell's gearbox. Mansell defending his part of it, pulling over to the right, preventing Senna getting through, but let's watch Senna on the straight because he's going to have a major attack on Nigel Mansell down the back straight. Yes, it's Berger who leads from Mansell, Senna, Nannini, Patrese, Prost, Boutsen, Piquet, Alesi, Gugelmin and Alio. That is the top 11.
And Mansell pulling over to the right-hand side of the Mistral straight. Senna to the left. Senna's just got his nose ahead and he's going to shut the door on Nigel Mansell round the long way, round the outside. And we've got McLaren's first and second. Gerhard Berger leading, Ayrton Senna second, Nigel Mansell third.
Yes, well, Honda engines have won this race for the past 4 years. Are they going to make it 5 in a row here at Paul Ricard? You're watching it live on Eurosport. There is Ayrton Senna, but it's Berger who leads. Gerhard Berger, what a sensational first lap. He did a 1:13.9 on that first flying lap. There's Senna. McLaren-Hondas 1 and 2. Nannini in fourth place, half the pitch. There's Boutsen in seventh. This is lap number 3. Berger, Senna, Mansell, Nannini, Patrese, Prost, Boutsen, Piquet, Alesi.
And Alain Prost languishing down in 6th place. A poor start from Prost, and he's got himself boxed in a way behind Patrese and Nannini, and he'll be wanting to get past them fairly quickly. But of course, remember back 2 weeks ago in Mexico, when he was even further back in the grid at the start of the race than he is here, and he came through in the end to win the race.
Yes, but Prost is very canny, John. Maybe he's driving, I think you say he caresses the wheel, just saving the car because tyres are a vital factor. He's probably hoping that he's only going to make one stop.
I think really what he's looking to do is, in these early laps, when the car is full of fuel and it's heaviest in the race, he is not going to try and hurt his tyres. He's trying to conserve those tyres, but he's right on the gearbox of Patrese. Just coming into view, he's still behind him. So he's already beginning to make indications he wants to take that 5th place away from Patrese, but he will not want to drive over hard at this stage. Berger right now is charging as hard as he knows. Giving him a 1.3-second lead over Senna, but he may pay for that a little bit later in the race.
Well, the timing monitor showing that the lead is 1.3 seconds between Gerhard and Ayrton. Mansell third, Nannini fourth. There's confirmation of it. 1.366 seconds. So an absolutely storming start to the French Grand Prix by Gerhard Berger. This race, 80 laps of this Paul Ricard circuit. The circuit shortened 5 years ago after the tragic Elio De Angelis accident. Before then, the circuit is actually a full 2 kilometres longer.
And Alessandro Nannini is really hanging on to Nigel Mansell's gearbox. And these 4 cars are just opening the smallest gaps now between Nannini and Patrese. Prost in 6th place.
Yes, everyone just putting the wheel up over the curve there. And Senna, I think, closing in. Yes, 0.9 of a second the gap now. Nannini also looking very strong indeed. Down that long straight, up to 190, 195 miles an hour, and then that flat-out right corner, John, one of the most testing corners in Grand Prix racing.
In this condition, the cars are just into the 190s, the low 190s. Of course, the extra weight of the fuel affects the acceleration down that long straight, but it's still pretty impressive because these cars are now on race tires. They don't have the grip that they had in qualifying, so you know, with the extra weight, slightly less grip, it's an even more exciting adventure.
Yes, Berger, Senna, Mansell, Nannini, Patrese, Prost, that's the top 6. Prost is playing a waiting game. Luke in 7th, PK in 8th spot, Alesi, Capelli, Bernard, Alio, Gugelmin, Suzuki 40th, Warwick 15th, Nakajima, Donnelly in 17th spot. Just mentioning there that Derek Warwick 15th, Donnelly 17th, they seem to have lost their way a little bit, John.
Yes, the other Lamborghini engine car, the Lola LaRousse of Bernard and Suzuki, have been consistently quicker all weekend, and I have to say the differences in the engines are negligible. It's all down to the chassis, but it's the differences between these 2 cars.
Yes, Eric Bernard in 11th place, 3rd fastest in the morning warm-up, doesn't seem to be making that much progress.
No, the progress that he's made, he's going backwards right now. Of course, the morning warm-up can, in some cases, be slightly deceptive because not everybody runs brim full tanks. Some people run half tanks, and because that's the situation the car is going to be running in for the larger part of the race, so they tend not to fill the car up full, and that could have been the case with Eric Bernard, where he was so quick, 3rd quickest time this morning.
Yes, there's Nigel Mansell currently running in 3rd spot. McLaren's across the line, and it's Nigel and Nannini. PK running down in 8th. Nannini's teammate Nelson Piquet, experienced man, won this race in the past. Ferrari, of course, had that new engine they tried at Silverstone in the test. British Grand Prix coming up 1 week's time. Already the circuit at Silverstone looking in complete readiness for a Grand Prix. I think they could run it this weekend. Hamish Brown, all the guys there have done an excellent job. Well, there's Nigel. The gap between Berger and Senna now, just about a second. Then from Senna to Mansell, 0.9 of a second, and then Nannini, 0.7 a second to him. You see it all on the screen, running very close together, that group.
There's been a little bit of seesawing between Berger and Senna, and then Senna and Mansell and Nannini, and in fact it appears that Mansell and Nannini are closing up to Senna, and Berger's beginning to open that gap up again. Now it's coming up to 1.3 seconds, so Berger's increasing that lead. He's just fractionally quicker than Senna. Mansell likewise, that's quicker than Senna, and that's the reason why we're seeing Ayrton Senna being wound in by Nigel Mansell and Alessandro Nannini.
Yeah, one of the planes landing at the airstrip just away from the circuit, saw it coming in.
Nannini is catching up on Mansell, but of course in this long corner he can't maintain that close proximity. The aerodynamic effect of running close to another car at that very high speed reduces the downforce in the front wings of Nannini's car, so he has to back off a little bit, and of course he loses that momentum.
Yeah, there's Sandro Nannini chasing hard after the Ferraris, right on Nigel Mansell's tail. This is lap number 8. Berger, Senna, Mansell, Nannini. A lot of cars still running very close together, nose to tail, the two arrows. There you see the pit boards going out. And we have a pit visitor. It looked like a Williams.
Yes, it did. I have a feeling that was Riccardo Patrese. We'll have to wait and see. The camera will pick up which car it went in.
Yeah, this is lap number 9. It seems that Riccardo Patrese is in trouble. Just looking out of our commentary box, but unfortunately there's various obstacles in the way. And there he is going into the pits now.
And that is not that's Thierry Boutsen.
Yes, Boutsen.
That is not a pit stop for tyres, that's a mechanical pit stop. They've been having problems with this Renault engine over the weekend. They've had a couple of blow-ups recently, so whatever the problem is for Boutsen, it's a terminal one, and an early shower for Thierry tonight.
Yes.
Emanuele Pirro having an exciting trip. He went down the inside, probably trying to pass somebody, locked up the brakes. A very exciting little pirouette from Pirro.
Yes, I was going to get that one in, John. You beat me to it. Well, Emanuele Pirro, he's well down the order. Currently shown in 26th spot. David Brabham running 23rd at the moment, and Modena in the other Brabham 21st. The gap between Berger and Senna is closed up again. It is seesawing around.
Yes,
0.8 of a second now. There you see them on the screen, almost nose to tail.
Well, Senna seems to have a little surge there, up to Berger, pulling away from Nigel Mansell and Nannini.
You say pulling away, but there's only about 0.6 of a second. Look, there's the first 4. This, the 10th lap. And all very close indeed. And I'm impressed with the way that Nannini is keeping up with 3 more senior men. Prost still running in 6th spot.
I think what's interesting about Nannini is he's not running the very latest development Ford HB engine. They had intended to bring some of the modifications here. They decided not to. And there are 2 modifications which they're hoping to bring into Silverstone for the Grand Prix there next week, which they believe will give the performance of that V8 engine a match to anything of Honda or Ferrari or Renault for that matter. And now look at Alain Prost trying to have a little sniff at Riccardo Patrese, but not close enough.
Yes, I believe
on the inside.
They call that the Phase 4 engine. A flurry of press releases from Ford this weekend about the Eddie Jordan situation. And Jordan will have Ford engines similar to the Benetton ones, but there you see just confirmation of the current positions. But a second press release came out, and John's got that story.
Yes, Benetton, I think, wanted to have the situation regarding the Ford engine clarified, and they made some observations about the press release regarding Jordan Grand Prix and the Ford engine. And whether those are ambiguous or not, I think, is left to the individual scribe who was recording it to make a judgment on. But certainly they did respond to that press release regarding Jordan Grand Prix and Ford HB engines.
Yes, it appears that Jordan will not get the Ford engine management system that comes with the motor. Presumably he'll have to go elsewhere for that. And I would have thought that that's a fairly major handicap. But these four still running close together. Senna right up the gearbox, the transverse gearbox of Gerhard Berger, his teammate. Both cars lapping in 1 minute 12, 1 minute 12.1.
And those lap times have dropped, and there was oil on the track around the back. I think that's the oil from Thierry Boutsen's Renault engine. We saw part of the circuit they'd put down a sand kind of mixture to absorb the oil. So I think that's accounted for that sudden drop of about 2 seconds per lap from the leading cars.
Yes, Lacey is up to 8th place. He's in front of Capelli. Let's just go through the top 10. Berger, Senna, Mansell. 4th is Nannini. 5th, Tracy. 6th is Alain Prost. 7th, Nelson Piquet. 8th, Joe Alesi. 9th, Ivan Capelli. And in 10th place, Gerhard Berger. And quickly after that, it's Gugelmin, Suzuki, Alio, Warwick, Nakajima, Donnelly, Alboreto, Cathy, De Cesaris and Monitor rounding out the top 20. There is Prost and still worrying at the back of Riccardo Patrese' Williams Renault. This is the 13th lap. Just one retirement so far. That's Thierry Boutsen. Well, I wonder if Prost can find a way round. Overtaking here, John, not that easy, is it?
No, you really want to try and do your overtaking partway down this straight that we're on now. But of course it's very difficult. It's a slow corner onto the straight, and you don't really get any advantage over the car ahead of you by coming onto the straight that much quicker. And Alain Prost Ferrari does not have the extra speed it needs to pass Patrase's Renault engine Williams, and therefore he's going to have to seek a place elsewhere. But look, Prost now preparing an attack, but of course there's not an awful lot of room here to do anything about it.
There are very big runoff areas, and we've seen several cars during qualifying taking trips into that gravel.
Remember last year Alain Prost, he was in a race with Ayrton Senna, and after the very, very fast corner on the straight, there's a short straight before this long double right-hand corner. That was where Prost made a very audacious move on Ayrton Senna, caught Senna totally unawares. He may well be preparing and thinking about a similar move with Riccardo, but he's got to be confident. Patrese is going to know what he's doing and not pull across him, otherwise there could be a major collision.
Yes, Williams running during qualifying with the new single-shock front suspension unit, but they've discarded that. They've gone back to the twin shock absorber system for the race.
Let's see if we can watch Prost here now in his preparation to try and pass Patrese. I think he's going to try and do it here, not in this corner, but coming in this next section. Look at him having a sniff down the inside, but he got his nose well and truly slapped there. Riccardo said, "No way, my son, you're not going to pass me here. I watched the video replay of the Grand Prix last year. I saw what you did to Ayrton Senna."
In fact, do the drivers do much analysis like that, John?
I beg your pardon? You know, drivers are not, well, they are reasonably intelligent guys. Some of them do watch the Grand Prix. I think certainly a lot of the teams, they were recording Eurovision, when they go back, they watch the Grand Prix, and they can learn things, not so much about the drivers, but maybe about their car and its relative performance with the other competitors.
Well, we know that they record our show in Williams, where I'm sure the conference centre is full up. Hello to all you Williams guys. Keep hard at it. And Riccardo there is doing his best for you. Well, still the situation. Gerhard Berger, 0.8 of a second ahead of Ayrton Senna. Nigel Mansell in 3rd spot. Nannini 4th. And it's Patrese and Prost still. Our battle continues. Oh, how'd it go then?
Yes, he's doing the same thing, and he's not really quite far enough up to Patrese when he makes his move. Patrese is able to shut the door on Prost and prevent him getting through.
He has got a stunning record here at Ricard, Alain Prost. His first race here in 1980, where he didn't do particularly well, but since then, every year except 1984, he's been on the podium. Of course, he won it in 88 and 89. He won the race way back in 1981, his first ever victory, and he also won here in 1983. That was, of course, for Renault. So, tremendous record. He'll be very disappointed if he's not in the top three. This, lap number 16. There you see the order. Caption just a little out of date there. It is lap number 16. They're working at the moment those positions after 15 laps. And Prost still worrying away at Riccardo Patrese, trying to prompt Patrese into a mistake.
And he's a little bit closer to Patrese this time again on the straight. He needs to stay as close as he can through this corner to get the chance to shoot down the inside. But having now tried the same ploy in the last 2 laps, he may have to rethink his strategy. Patrese is prepared for it. He's not going to leave the door open, or certainly not wide enough for Prost to slide inside him. So he's now maybe going to have to reconsider what other parts of the circuit is possible to get past Riccardo Patrese.
Yes, this is lap number 16. See some of the mountains in the background here in the Provence. Look at that gaggle then. That's the battle for 5th through about 9th place. Berger, Senna, Mansell, Nannini, Patrese, Prost, Piquet, Alesi, Capelli and Bernard. Bernard moved up 1 spot. Gugelmin 11th, Suzuki 12th. In fact, John, just noticed there that...
Well, of course, we've just lost the best shot. We're going to see Alain Prost at his closest to Riccardo Patrese. Now we don't know whether he's got past him or not. No, he hasn't. But certainly that was the closest we saw Alain Prost going through the scene corner to Riccardo Patrese. We went then, of course, in car to one of the Lamborghinis and lost the shot.
We saw earlier on that Emanuele Pirro spin confirmation that he has stopped out on the racetrack. Presumably he stalled the engine, and now new rules from FISA. Drivers are not allowed to be push-started, and as they don't have starter motors, it means he's out of the race.
Yes, indeed, and it's one of those very controversial regulations, and particularly from the qualifying and practicing point of view, that push-start should be permitted. In the race, it's a different issue. It is classified as outside assistance, and therefore is an immediate disqualification. So if you spin your car, stall the engine, you have to get out of the car, park it somewhere safely, and walk home to your pit.
Yes. The gap now, 0.9 of a second, is just fluctuating that 1/5 of a second backwards and forwards. Berger still leading. This is the 18th lap they're on now. Still that battle continues. Prost trying to find a way around Patrese. Nelson Piquet just under a second behind the pair of them.
There's no doubt, Andrew, that Riccardo Patrese is holding up Alain Prost at this stage. The 2 cars have got exactly the same top speed, and Alain Prost is not able to find an advantage anywhere. Oh, Mansell sliding very, very wide, and Nannini, I think, has taken the place, but Mansell fought his way back, pushed Nannini well over to the right, but Nigel went in probably slightly too quick, got on the marbles, the rubber marbles, slid wide, but managed to hang on to his 3rd place. But of course, Nannini may well take advantage of that and try, and Mansell now swinging over to the right to block Nannini. Nannini going left, these two battling for 3rd place, but Mansell now really is able to consolidate his position, and the threat from, look at that, almost full lock as he went into the corner and well off the line. I mean, it's a good 10, 15 feet wide of the apex of that corner. And actually the recovery was exceptional.
Yeah, I think we ought to put Nigel in a rally car one of these days. He loves driving sideways. Berger, Senna, Mansell. There's Nigel. No one really breaking into the 1.9s yet. I think one quick word of explanation, John. We've got a very open commentary box here, and just next to us is a Frenchman who is actually screaming his heart out, so you might even hear him on our mics, because he is making the most frightful row. Well, it is an exciting race, but this guy's going to have a heart attack before he's finished. Meanwhile, back at the race, Berger, Senna, Mansell, Nannini, Patrese, Prost, that's the top 6. This is the 20th lap. They flash under that camera which is mounted on the bridge.
And Ivan Capelli bumping across the curve of the inside, having a little collision with John Alesi. Again, Prost right on the gearbox of Patrese, but Patrese not having any of it.
Yeah, that's the battle for 8th spot. Yeah, notice that Jean Alesi's father has actually got a suite here at Ricard. Still Prost tries. Yes, we're walking down past the suites, John, and saw one carrosserie. Oh, there's a pit stop.
There's Larini having a pit stop for tyres, obviously. Another, looks like a Benetton rushing in. Something pouring out of the back of the car. We couldn't quite see what it was. Piquet.
Piquet's in, there's the order. Berger, Senna, Mansell, Nannini, Patrese, Prost after quarter distance.
A good stop for Piquet, 8.12 seconds. Rejoining the race. This has a very quick entry and exit to the pits at Paul Ricard. So that trip into the pits for Piquet probably costing him somewhere in the region of 30 seconds, maybe just under it.
As John Barnard's really forcing his personality and his thrust and his dynamism into that team now, John.
Yes, it's going to get very good direction from John Barnard. A very strong character, a man who knows precisely what he wants in Formula One, both in terms of engineering and from the engine side itself.
Well, the race just after quarter distance now. Berger, who leads from Senna by 0.6 of a second. We'll be back in just a couple of short moments.
Loro, oltretutto abbiamo lì con loro abbiamo Nicola Larini, ragazzo italiano simpaticissimo e che è sempre stato molto veloce, che quest'anno sta soffrendo veramente, quindi mi auguro che riescano a tornare ai vertici almeno con la macchina di Larini.
Intanto al 20° passaggio Berger sulla Senna di 6 decimi, Mansell era quasi un secondo da Senna, Nannini a 7 decimi da Mansell, Patrese a 2 secondi da Nannini, con Prost sempre a meno di 4 decimi. Al 21° passaggio Berger sempre al comando, Senna a 6 decimi, Mansell a 6 decimi da Senna, Nannini a 7 decimi da Mansell, Patrese a 2 secondi 252 da Nannini, con Prost a 3 decimi e mezzo. Quindi Alesi a 3 secondi e 2 con Capelli a 4 decimi. Poi c'è un intervallo di 9 secondi con Gugelmin nono, seguito a 3 secondi da Bernard. A seguire poi ancora con distacchi abbastanza consistenti di qualche secondo. Su tutti gli uomini Modena di Cesaris e quindi Traban, Martini, Gallanti e Larini. Ritirati come sappiamo Pirro e Botzen, giro più veloce ancora il quarto di Senna in 1:10.144. Adesso il giro veloce è di Capelli in 1:10.
You're back at Ricard and the first 4 have closed right up. The battle between those two there, that continues, but at the front Berger and Senna now separated by just half a second. Mansell has closed up on the back of Senna and Nannini has gone with Mansell. So this is lap 23. What a struggle it is. Piquet we saw come into the pits. He's now running in 14th place. We'll go through the order for you. Berger, Senna, Mansell, Nannini, Patrese, Prost, Alesi, Capelli, Gugelmin, Bernard, Suzuki, Alio, Warwick, Piquet, Nakajima, Donnelly, Alboreto, Caffey, Modena, De Cesaris. That's the top 20. We've only had 2 retirements so far. Thierry Boutsen with that mechanical problem, he retired on the pit. Emanuele Pirro spun off and stalled.
And as you said, I think Jean Alesi has just dived into the pits, certainly for a tyre change, but also there may be some damage to the car. That little collision he had with Ivan Capelli. Cleaning the visor, getting all the oil smear off it. yellowish change, 10.3. Engine, almost lost the engine on the exit to the pit. Not the best pit stop for John Lacey.
Fastest lap of the race so far to Nelson Piquet, now on fresh tyres. Nelson dipped down into the 109.796. Piquet, after his pit stop, running in 13th place, as we see Martin Donnelly make a pit stop. Donnelly running in 17th spot. Good stop from the Camel Lotus team. A lot of cement dust in that pit road, John. You saw it thrown up there. I think that's when we saw Piquet coming, that's what it was.
Yes, I think that's the dust that the legacy of Boutsen blew up. That engine must carry an awful lot of oil, because I think that's what we've seen, the dust which was put down on the oil from Boutsen's engine.
Still that scrap for 5th place continues. Here are the two leading McLaren-Hondas. And Alex Caffey is off, and I suggest out.
I think Alain Prost must be getting a little bit frustrated now, because he's been behind Patrese for 23 laps on the 24th lap, and now really having to think very hard indeed about where is he going to find a way past Patrese. These two cars are losing contact to the front four. Prost has been very patient indeed. His patience now wearing thin. You can see Prost's car doesn't need as much of the track as Patrese. Indication that Patrase's car has not got the grip in the corner that Prost has, but of course with Prost losing his momentum behind Patrese, he can take advantage of the extra grip and speed he has.
But what about that quartet at the front? Very close indeed. Lap 26, the gap 0.6 of a second. That man there, Capelli, in 7th place. He's hanging on exceptionally well.
He's been catching up, and he's right now behind Alain Prost. He's adding a further dimension to this little battle that Patrese and Prost have been having. And I'm sure Alain Prost will really not wish to have somebody pursuing him closely. It means that he's going to have to keep one eye on his mirror at some part of his lap, and be aware that there is a competitive car behind him.
Well, that's definitely something to cheer up for Ian Phillips, the team director, still on the sick list. We're hoping to see him at Silverstone. He's had a very nasty bout of meningitis, so get well soon, Ian. We do hope we can see you at Silverstone, even if it's just to watch. Ian Phillips, the man who really worked so hard with Mr. Akagi to set up this team. Leyton House now completely separate from March Engineering. Now we go in car. Give us some gears if they stay with us. This picture, John.
Well, it's just so quick, the gear change. 2nd, 3rd, 4th comes so quickly, it's almost as fast as your hand. But look at this. Ooh, very tight indeed. Nannini and Mansell yet again. Mansell having to take the wrong line into the corner, pull right over to the right to prevent Nannini from getting by. Of course, that made rather a messy situation for those two cars. But look, Mansell protecting his corner, pulling right over to the right, narrowing the angle he was using in the corner, had to slow down very much indeed. Nannini trying to go around him on the outside, but not enough room. Another car really that is capable of going quicker than we're seeing it doing. Nannini being held up by Nigel Mansell.
Unusual camera position from the back of that Lola. Still a very close run thing. Here at the Ricard circuit, Le Castellet, the other name.
Alain Prost into the pit.
Prost into the pit, he was running in 6th spot.
I think this may be the opportunity he's looking for to finally pass Patrese, because Patrese also, I'm sure, will be pitward bound shortly. Alain Prost peeling off one of the rip-offs on his visor. And a good stop, and that well may elevate Alain Prost up to 5th spot, although he would be at this stage, but if Patrese make his pit stop, it's going to have to be quicker than Prost, and that was a very quick stop. And Senna now taking the lead from Gerhard Berger at the end of the pit straight.
Yes, a new leader here at Paul Ricard. Senna, you saw it live on Eurosport. Ayrton, Senna leads. And Berger almost losing second place to Nigel Mansell.
I think I would imagine Berger's also going to be a visitor into the pits, because suddenly his car seems to be slowing down. Mansell's all over him. Let's have a look at what Berger does. Decide to take his tyre pit stop at the end of this lap. Certainly he's dropped off that last lap. His lap time must have been 2 seconds at least slower. Yes, he's pulling over to the right. And the Nini also. We've got two visitors to the pit. Gerhard Berger in the McLaren. The Nini, look at the speed of these two. And that's very, very dusty. The Nini locking up a right front, almost overshooting his pit.
There's the McLaren team working away on Berger's car. Not a particularly quick one.
Light bother with the left rear. Got it on. Slow stop. Almost 13 seconds.
Senna perhaps the next lap, John.
Could be. But having got his nose in the lead, he may try to consolidate that lead. But of course he will know the situation better than anybody else. And after the strategy, the mistaken strategy that McLaren ran to in Mexico, when they admitted after the race they should have called Ayrton Senna in for a tyre change. I'm sure they're going to be very much on top of that situation.
There's David Brabham.
He's another tyre changer.
David Brabham running in 20th place now.
Senna continuing. Mansell second.
1.9 seconds between the pair of them, but everything's changing now as different cars come into the pit.
Patrese in third and Ivan Capelli in fourth. A very long time since the Leyton House ran as high as that. Remember, the Leyton House runs with the V8 Judd engine, an engine not supposed to be as powerful as Ferrari, Honda or Williams with the Renault engine.
Or Lamborghini for that matter. Prost just turned the fastest lap of the race to date, 109.340.
In 88 we saw Ivan Capelli make some incredible passing manoeuvres, and in fact one of those was this man Patrese in Spa in 88. An audacious move. And a result like this, or a race like this, could do marvels for the morale in the Leyton House team. They've had a real bashing in the last, well, almost the last year in fact. This kind of performance here, Ayrton, and now coming into the pits also very fast. You must be very careful on the entry into the pit. You don't overshoot, block a break up, and have to then make another lap. This looks like a better stop than that of Berger's. Fronts are on, left rear going on.
Problem with the left rear.
Oh yes.
Seconds ticking away. Now they've got the aircon on. Now they've done it.
That's the first stop, 16 seconds, Senna.
8 hard-earned seconds there, lost John.
And he just gets out in front of Gerhard Berger, his teammate, behind Nelson Piquet, who's running in 8th spot. So it's now Senna 9 and Berger 10.
Of course, we have a new leader, this man, Nigel Mansell, who has yet to make his pit stop. Mansell leads. Senna in second place, Patrese third.
They got Riccardo Patrese second, Capelli in third spot, and they, of course, Patrese and Capelli have not been into the pit, as has Nigel Mansell. So the front three cars have yet not made their tyre pit stops.
Just watching the monitor to see where Senna slips back.
Mansell into the pits now. Patrese leads, Capelli in second space.
Capelli could lead this race, Johnny. I think just for the whole psychology of the team, they might let him stay out that bit longer.
Yes, indeed. I think it would be a very wise thing to do. They probably are not going to win the race from the front, but to get the nose in the lead would do marvels for the Leyton House team. Mr. Ricard, the owner of the team, I'm sure will be over the moon to see one of his cars leading a French Grand Prix, or any Grand Prix right now.
Well, I wonder what Adrian Newey, the man who designed that Leyton House car, who's just left the team, must be thinking now. I got the feeling he's been rather shoved out. We haven't seen anything official to that effect, and we haven't spoken to him, but that's the feeling we got as Riccardo Patrese leads. That caption a little out of date. Everything happening with these pit stops. Capelli in second place. Gugelmin going well also.
Yes, indeed, Gugelmin now running third spot. But I'm sure Capelli will be on a high right now. He's right behind Patrese. He's raced against Patrese in the past. He's been able to pass him, and Riccardo is not recognised as being one of the easiest men on the race to get past. But look at Capelli right on the gearbox. And I think he's going to have a little shoot down the inside into this very, very... Yes, look at that. He did his preparation well. Capelli, when he's in a high, is courageous. That was a great little move. Nice to see it. Alain Prost may well learn something from that.
Well, what a turn up for the book. Ivan Capelli leads.
And he's pulling away. He's pulled almost a second already on Riccardo Patrese. Just Capelli, Patrese, Gugelmin. Those are the first three. And who in the pits, who amongst the experts would have ever predicted two Leyton Houses in the top three?
Meanwhile, of course, Senna and Berger starting to work their way up the field again. Prost also going quickly. He's down into the 1/8 now. Prost just a turn, a 1:08.683. There's confirmation of that. On to a 34th lap. It's Capelli, Patrese, Gugelmin and Prost. Prost up to 4th place. Nannini in 5th spot.
And Riccardo Patrese really must go into the pits now. He's lapping over 3 seconds a lap slower than Capelli. So his set of Goodyear tyres are well and truly short, and every lap he stays out here is time lost that he will find very, very difficult indeed to recover after he makes a stop for a fresh set of his Goodyear tyres.
Capelli also. Capelli's still lapping in the 110s. Presumably he'll be in the pits within the next couple of laps.
Leyton House have not had too much practice, Andrew, with pit stops, particularly in a pressure situation, that of leading a race. So how their pit stop goes will be very dependent on how Capelli can compete in the Part 2 of his 1990 French Grand Prix. But let's hope they do a good stop for him, because wouldn't it be wonderful to see a dark horse, a totally unexpected package of driver and car at the front of Paul Ricard.
There's the man from Milan, still leading. Fortuitously, we had an interview with Capelli in our qualifying show, and we asked him how he pumped himself up after all the disappointment. He said he did it by watching the football with Italy getting into the semi-finals. That must have helped a little bit, perhaps. But we see Eric Bernard, and in fact Suzuki running alongside him, those two running together. That's 11th and 12th spot.
But really the man we've got to keep an eye on is not this one, Riccardo Patrese, but Alain Prost. Currently in 3rd spot, but catching up hand over fist to Richard Gugelmin. He's just on a lap, the fastest lap of the race so far, 1 minute 8.445. He is the quickest man on the racetrack, and he's got all his main challengers, Nannini, Mansell, PK, Senna, Berger, they're all behind him.
Yes, so the two Leyton Houses have yet to go into the pits. And Senna now running in front of Gerhard Berger. Despite that somewhat fumbled pit stop from McLaren, well, fumbled, it looked like a mechanical problem with a wheel nut.
Both McLarens had really very poor pit stops, and that's the price they're having to pay now. Those 3, 4, 5 extra seconds spent fumbling with those rear wheels has demoted them down into the 4th, 5th and 6th spots.
Well, absolute sensation here at Paul Ricard. The Leyton House cars are running in 1st and 2nd spots. Capelli and Gugelmin. Then it's Prost, Nannini, Mansell, Senna, PK. We'll recap it again. Capelli and Gugelmin. You are not hearing it wrong. The Leyton House cars are 1st and 2nd. Prost is 3rd, Nannini 4th, Mansell 5th, Senna is in 6th spot. Then it's Nelson Piquet 7th, Gerhard Berger 8th, Riccardo Patrese 9th, and Philip Alliot is in 10th place. Then it's the two Lola Lamborghinis of Bernard and Suzuki. Capelli leads by 7.5 seconds from Mauricio Gugelmin.
And Alain Prost, who's running third now, has dropped down to the same lap time as Gugelmin and Capelli. So the benefit of his fresh tyres seems to have ebbed away. Certainly at this point of the race, he's not making the progress he did 2 laps ago towards the front two Leyton Houses. He's now lapping at their pace.
How has Capelli managed to conserve his tyres? Because he hasn't been in John. He's still lapping at the 1:10 mark and driving a superb race out there. How can he manage to keep going on that first set of tyres?
Well, whatever they've done to these two cars to make them work, obviously is helping the tyres greatly, because it seems they can run on tyres that have done 36 laps, and they're lapping as quickly as cars that have got fresh tyres on. So there's something about the setup of the Leyton House here at Paul Ricard that is magical. I believe they will have to make a pit stop finally for tyres, but at this point in the race, just under the half distance, they're capable of running quick enough to lead the race. And Alain Prost is not able right now to take advantage of those fresh tyres in his Ferrari.
Yes, they might have Japanese ownership, but an all-British car. The Judd engine from Rugby. John Judd Engine Development, the company which he started, I believe, with Jack Brabham. And what a superb job he's done.
And again, it's a long time since the Judd engine has featured so strongly in a race. Really, it was last year with Martin Brundle in the Brabham team when they had some tremendous results. But this is the narrow-angle V8 Judd engine. And now we're getting to see the true potential that engine has always had. And Prost now looking for a way to get past Gugelmin. Gugelmin being hampered by De Cesaris in the Dallara, giving Prost an opportunity to catch up, look for that little gap. Andrea oblivious to what's going on behind him. He can't believe that Leyton House is leading a race. That's probably why this time he's saying, oh well, Leyton House is probably a lap behind already. Prost leading the race. I'll get out of the way for Prost. Gugelmin, but he can work his own way around.
There's Alain Prost trying to split the two Leyton House machines. It's difficult to say Leyton Houses, so that's what we have to try and say.
Yes.
Prost trying down the inside.
Andrea saw both of them coming, let Gugelmin through, and then realised Prost was on his tail. Stayed well to the right. Prost got through cleanly. Andrea did a good job that time, assisting these second and third place cars.
Yes, he's running in 18th spot, De Cesaris, running behind Michele Alboreto and just in front of Stefano Modena. The Brabham team all at sea here. They just haven't been able to work out a good setup. Oh, Prost trying to go wide, and there's no way around the outside there. And Gugelmin doing a sterling job holding him off. Just wonder, John, if you can get a look at the tyres on the Leyton House. They look in reasonable condition to me, but you're the expert.
Yes, they look reasonable, but obviously his tyres are suffering from 38 laps around the Paul Ricard circuit. Prost's tyres being much fresher, and eventually that will tell. But it's so far not Peter Prost's advantage. And look at the acceleration on the straight. No advantage whatsoever to Alain Prost with his V12 Ferrari engine. The V8 Judd of Gugelmin seemingly able to keep him at bay.
Yeah, Prost is probably used to chasing Nigel Mansell or Gerhard Berger or Ayrton Senna, and he knows their driving style. He probably doesn't know quite what the strengths and weaknesses of Mauricio Gugelmin are.
I would imagine Gugelmin's finding that out also. He's not really quite sure of his car. I mean, this is a gift to him. Now Prost closing up. I'm sure he's going to have another little look again. Well, he wasn't close enough that time.
This just shows you, John, how important in the overall equation is the motor car and getting it working correctly. Because a race ago, these cars didn't even qualify. And now they're lying first and second. An amazing turnaround in fortune. Totally amazing. But that's what makes motor racing so thrilling, so exciting.
Yes, it is. And I mean, I've never seen anything like this. It's a very, very unusual situation. The two cars can be so uncompetitive in one Grand Prix and then be first and second in the following one. And Alain Prost doesn't really appear to have an answer to Mauricio Gugelmin. Gugelmin driving a race, clean, not making any mistakes, aware he hasn't got quite the grip he would like, but not leaving any door open for Prost to slide down into.
We're just halfway through the French Grand Prix. If you've just tuned in, you are not seeing things. The Leyton House cars are lying first and second. Capelli has led the race for the past 7 laps. Most of the front runners have made stops at the pits for tyres. The Leyton House is conserving their tyres and going very well. They have not been into the pits. And it is Capelli who leads. Totally amazing here at Paul Ricard. Gugelmin holding off Alain Prost. Cars which couldn't even qualify out there at the front. Capelli, Gugelmin, Prost, Nannini, Mansell and Senna, that is the top 6. Then it's Piquet, Berger, Patrese, Bernard, Suzuki, Nakajima, Warwick in 13th. Alio, Donnelly is 15th.
And Martini has a problem with his Minardi. He's pulled over to the left. His race is over for the day. But here's the battle for second place. Gugelmin in the Leyton House, Alain Prost in the Ferrari.
Okay, well there, Pierluigi Martini climbs out of his car, and let's just have a look at the retirements. Terry Boutsen, we saw him retire in the pits, mechanical problem. Emanuele Pirro spun off and stalled. Alex Caffey spun off, and we just seen Martini stop there. So this battle continues. That's the battle for second place. Still, it's Leyton House cars lying first and second. Very exciting here at the French Grand Prix. Stay with us. We'll be back in just a couple of moments.
Riuscirà a cogliere il momento favorevole, mentre intanto Cappi abbandona per cedimento della sospensione. Un attimo di esitazione da parte di Alboreto sul passaggio a Prost, poi è riuscito a scavalcare anche lui, come già aveva fatto Gugelmin, il pilota italiano, che adesso è raggiunto e superato da Nannini. Primissimo piano della vettura di Bernard, si tratta di Suzuki, suo compagno di squadra. I giapponesi viaggiano di conserva, Suzuki 11°, Nakajima e 12°, separati da meno di 4 decimi. Davanti a Patrese in questo momento abbiamo Berger che lo precede di un secondo. 43° passaggio intanto per Capelli, 8 secondi e 2. Capelli sta guadagnando sui compagni di squadra, il quale tiene.
You're back, and the Leyton Houses are still in first and second place. Another retirement piece of news. Jean Alesi has stopped 7 laps ago. We don't know why, but he appears to be out of the race. There we ride with Eric Bernard in the number 28 Lola Lamborghini. Bernard, this race proving to be something of a disappointment for him. He's running in 11th place, chasing after his teammate Aguri Suzuki.
In fact, that's just passed. Looks like Modena in the Brabham.
Yeah, lapping him in fact. Capelli leads by 8 seconds from Mauricio Gugelmin. And it's Prost, Nannini. Prost still trying to find a way around Gugelmin.
Suzuki trying to find a way past Yannick Dalmas in the AGS, but not courageous enough to stick his nose in, going to that very fast Teen corner. Here we are, Ivan Capelli all on his own. 8.2 seconds of a lead, and teammate Mauricio Gugelmin, who's ahead of Prost, and Nannini closing on Prost.
Yes, Nannini has just turned a 108.8. There's confirmation of the positions. Capelli, Gugelmin, Prost, Nannini, Mansell and Senna. Capelli, the football fan, leads the race. Maybe he's just rushing to see the World Cup final, John.
Well, I know two people are doing that. Bernie Ecclestone and team manager of Brabham, Herbie Flash, are probably at this moment taxiing down the runway at the Paul Ricard Airport to fly to Rome to see the final, Germany versus Argentina.
Not sure if that's getting your priorities right or not.
Well, I don't know about Brabham, but certainly Bernie feels that's the right priority today.
Capelli still turning very quick laps to 108.6 from Capelli. He's 8.6 seconds in fact now. That cap's a little out of date. 8.6 seconds ahead of his teammate Mauricio Gugelmin. And still these Leyton House machines are in first and second spot. The Judd powered machines, all British cars. Capelli of Italy, Gugelmin from Brazil. Gugelmin, the man who used to roommate with Ayrton Senna. And he's holding off Alain Prost.
Really, Alain Prost doesn't seem to have an answer to Mauricio Gugelmin. As he had no answer to Riccardo Patrese earlier in the race. The speed of the Leyton House on the straight is sufficiently great to prevent Prost getting up close to him. And that favourite spot, that double right-hand corner at the end of the very long straight, we saw him pass Ayrton Senna so decisively last year. He's not able to do that to Mauricio Gugelmin in the Leyton House.
Yeah, there's Gugelmin, 27 years old, from Curitiba in Brazil. In fact, they've got a racetrack at Curitiba. Now lives in Egham in Surrey. Married to Stella. Former British Formula Ford 1600 champion. Formula Ford 2000 champion as well in Britain. Most of his racing, in fact, in Britain in the Junior Formula. And Prost challenging. But he can't do it into that flat-out senior corner. Capelli, Gugelmin, Prost, that's the order. You could have got 100 to 1 on Capelli, I think, John.
I would say 100 to 1 would be terrible odds. I would have thought about 1,000,000 to 1, let alone 100 to 1. I mean, this is a complete and total unpredictable situation. Although the cars did show very, very improved form in qualifying and practice, no one I know predicted we would see two Leyton Houses leading the field. And at this stage in the race, we're well into the second half of the race. We're on the 48th lap.
Yeah, looking for the leader, Ivan Capelli. Still picking up that second place battle. Nakajima at the back of that group, running in 15th place. Ivan Capelli, double Italian Formula 3 champion in 1983 and 84. Won the Monaco Formula 3 race in 84 in a Martini. He won the European Formula 3 champion that same year. And of course, he was the Formula 3000 champion in 1986 in a March. So he's got an exceptional record in the junior formula. Well, that's the battle for second place.
You're talking about the form of Capelli. Really, we did see some superb form in 88 when Leyton House really began building their own cars, transferring from being a March to a Leyton House. And one of the things that I remarked about Capelli's performances then were his ability to overtake. And we saw him, and look at this, Nannini now trying to get onto the back of Prost Ferrari. Prost being so preoccupied with Gugelmin ahead of him, he's maybe gone to sleep a little bit, and Nannini now closer than he's ever been. Nannini could be the danger man. Alain Prost a bit wide. He actually missed the apex that corner again by a substantial amount. Unusual for a man of Prost's quality and ability to miss an apex as much as that.
Yes, Yes, just to recap on some of the retirements. Boutsen was the first man out with mechanical problems. Pirro out, Caffey has gone, Lacey is out, and Martini has stopped. Tracy running down in 9th place. Quite a lot of these people that changed onto fresh tyres really don't seem to have speeded up at all. I mean, look at for Tracy. Tracy running right at the front before the tyre stopped. Now running down in 9th place. Senna still running in 6th spot. And these Leyton House is still running on the original set of tyres.
To some extent one could put that down to the circuit conditions. And basically the advantage you should have with a new tyre is that you can go faster. That's being contradicted by Capelli and Gugelmin, because they're running at the same speed as those people who have made their pit stops. The only thing I would say is that if Alain Prost could find a way past Gugelmin, as we see here, I believe he could go quicker and he potentially could catch up to Capelli, but Gugelmin is doing an absolutely superb job. He's maintaining his second place.
The gap between the two Leyton House machines, 8.7 seconds. Leyton House own the team. Sponsorship from Waterglass and BP also. There you see Gugelmin heading that group. This is lap 50 of the 80. What a turn up for the books here at the Castellet, the Paul Ricard circuit. Leyton House has got it all together. And Capelli still leads. It's been over 10 laps now that he's led this race. This is no flash in the pan. And we could see this form repeated at Silverstone, John, because that's another very smooth circuit.
Yes,
it appears these cars don't like the bumpy tracks, but on the smooth circuit, well, they've certainly found the formula for success.
If they can go to Silverstone with this car, they are going to be extremely competitive throughout the weekend and in the race. And that's a circuit really where I think the car, if it was designed for a racetrack, it was designed for Silverstone. Those long, fast corners at Silverstone are just made for this kind of high downforce car.
There's high downforce car, but I do ponder how much horsepower it's got. How much horsepower has John Judd managed to extract from that engine? We do understand that it revs at over 12,000 RPM.
I think the horsepower figure is very closely guarded secret, but you know, there's always somebody who will say, well, it's got around about 640, maybe 645 horsepower. And that in a nice, compact, small car. And Alain Prost right on his gearbox, and Prost, oh my goodness. Prost had to lift his foot almost up to touch his chin to get out of it so quickly. That was a major moment that made Prost's best chance at having a shot at second spot. And Capelli showed no mercy. Alain Prost, I'm in second spot. If you want it, you've got to be more decisive, and you've got to make your pass earlier on the straight.
He's talking about 650 horsepower, and that, of course, is about 10 times the horsepower of a normal family saloon in a machine that weighs about a third of a family saloon, as Derek Warwick comes into the pit. Warwick currently in 12th spot.
I can't imagine new tyres are going to make an awful lot of difference to Derek's race. Raising his visor. He's looking fairly leisurely around him.
Capelli leads from Gugelmin, Prost, Nannini, Mansell, Senna and PK. This is lap 53, and the Leyton House is still lead. What a stunning motor race here at the French Grand Prix. It's Capelli, Gugelmin, Prost, Nannini, Mansell, Senna, PK, Berger. We'll be back in just a moment.
And now, Gugelmin and Prost and Nannini, those three together, are coming up to that.
Capelli ha superato un cliente pericoloso, Aglio, che è un pilota molto veloce, però a volte ha qualche incidente di troppo. Ho visto anche Gugelmin e Prost che hanno avuto qualche piccolo problemino nel superare la Brabham di Modena.
Mentre intanto vediamo in replay il sorpasso di Mansell di Prost nei confronti di Gugelmin. Leggevamo anche sul teleschermo che l'abbandono di Martini pare imputabile a ragioni elettriche, dice il comunicato.
Prost ha fintato continuamente attacchi in una zona dove poi proprio non l'ha attaccato e l'ha attaccata in fondo ai box. Ecco, io volevo così un attimino sondare la situazione in casa Leyton House, in casa March, con Vergani, che poi il manager di Capelli.
Back at for Ricard, where there has been a change because that man Alain Prost is now in second spot. While you were away, he managed to sneak down the inside of Mauricio Gugelmin, and we'll be seeing that in replay in just a moment. So here it is, John, just describe what happened.
Yes, Prost got the run onto the pit straight and had the acceleration. He went for it down the inside, took second place from Gugelmin. Now we've got Capelli leading from Prost, 5 seconds ahead of Alain Prost. But Prost, I anticipate now, will start to make fairly rapid inroads into Capelli's lead. And Alessandro Nannini now pushing Gugelmin very hard for third spot.
Yes, just to recap, Capelli leads from Prost and Gugelmin. If you have just come in from the garden or wherever, you are not hearing things. Ivan Capelli has led this race for the past 20 laps almost. Gugelmin has been in second place, a sensational turnaround by the Leyton House team from Bicester in Oxfordshire, from non-qualifiers to race leaders. Can Capelli hang on? Prost is charging after him. Already the gap has come down to 4 seconds, and I think, John, we both now fancy Prost's chances.
Yes, Prost is lapping a second a lap faster. The advantage he has of having a pit stop 4 tyres, we're now seeing that advantage. He's clear of Gugelmin. He's basically got a clear track ahead of him. The car ahead of him is being lapped. He can now drive at his own pace, and he will be taking up to, and if not more, a second out of Capelli's lead. But yes, that Ligier not being helpful. Philippe Alliot finally realising that the current world champion was on his tail. He pulled well over to the left. Prost got through. That held him up maybe half a second. But that'll not make much difference over the next 4 to 5 laps. We're going to see Prost eat right into Capelli's lead.
Capelli first, Prost second, Gugelmin third, Nannini fourth, Mansell in 5th spot, Senna 6th, 7th is PK, 8th Berger, 9th for Tracy, 10th is Suzuki, still leading his teammate Eric Bernard, 12th is Donnelly, 13th is Alliot, 14th Nakajima, 15th Alboreto, 16th De Cesaris, 17th Warwick, 18th Modena, 19th it's Nicola Larini. 21 cars still running. David Brabham in 21st place, bringing up the rear, and there's an incident.
Yes, that's De Cesaris having a little adventure into the tower, well, I suspect. Bush! No, he managed to avoid it, but he's doing a bit of rally crossing in his Dallara Ford. It wasn't designed with that in mind. He could come in and raise the suspension, of course, and be more successful. Ayrton Senna.
Berger that was, I think.
Berger, yes.
Yes, Gerhard Berger chasing after 7th spot.
This is a problem time for Capelli now. He's got 3 slower cars ahead of him. They're not going to be easy to pass. Prost is going to be able to use that very much, I would say, to his advantage.
Prost on his second set of tyres, Capelli still on his first set, as is Gugelmin. Coming up to three-quarter distance, and I doubt if they're going to make a pit stop with those Leyton Houses. John, have you got a view on that? Do you think they may have to come in for fresh rubber?
They may want to, but I think they'll stay out there because they could never ever make up the ground they would lose at this point in the race by making a pit stop. So I would say they've had the glory, or they still have the glory, they're still leading the race. Stick in there, just hang in and stay there till the end, because there's no knowing what might happen. Alain Prost may have a mechanical problem, and you can find Capelli, should Prost pass them before the end of the race, back in the lead. It's one of those situations, I would say, just stay out there. This is a problem for Capelli. He's now behind one of the Lotuses, Mark Donnelly. He's got to get past Dalmas, and Donnelly's car is able to accelerate slightly faster than Capelli's jet engine Leyton House.
And the lead now down to 2.5 seconds. It's actually 2.489 seconds between Capelli and Prost. Prost closing now on Capelli. Nannini has just sneaked past Gougerman into third place. Gougerman is now fourth. Prost looking in good shape to make it 3 French Grand Prix in a row. The man who has been so superb at this circuit continues to charge after Capelli. There's Ayrton Senna, currently in 5th spot. He's 3 seconds behind Gougerman. These points, of course, are vital to Leyton House because of the pre-qualifying situation. They've had no points for almost a year. This would help their cause tremendously. There is Senna.
And of course, those points going to Leyton House would be absolutely disastrous to the Ligier team. Out there's one of the Leyton Houses stopped.
Oh dear.
That looks like Capelli's. What a great shame. Gougerman.
Yes, can't see the crash out. What a shame for Mauricio Gougerman. In fact, he's already out of the car. So it is Capelli still leading from Prost. The gap now 1.5 seconds. There is Mauricio Gougerman, and he's been hard at work, you can see that. Capelli, Prost, Nannini, Senna up to 4th spot. Mansell is promoted to 5th, Piquet to 6th, Berger to 7th, Patrese to 8th. And the car goes past here, sounding very rough indeed. This race now 3/4 of the way through. There is Senna. Retirement so far, there you see them. Boutsen, Pirot, Cappy, John Lazy. Martini, we hear, had electrical problems. Gougerman has just stopped. And Prost right on his tail. Prost waiting to pounce.
Sliding inside Larini and Ligier. Both get through cleanly, but now, of course, Prost right on Capelli's gearbox, and he's going to have a reasonably good drag down the straight. A lot of pressure now on Ivan Capelli from Alain Prost.
Yes, Capelli still leads just. And Mansell has gone into the pits. Nigel Mansell has just made a pit stop, and there he is coming out again. So that's his second set of tyres, third set of tyres now. What's happening at the front? The director still staying on Ayrton Senna. What about that battle at the front? Capelli holding off Alain Prost. Please show us, please.
Going for a coffee break. Capelli's managed to marginally increase his gap on Alain Prost in that lap, maybe about 10-15 feet. The momentum Prost has catching up to Capelli, he's not been able to follow up upon. Running half a second behind Capelli at the minute. Maybe Prost is just taking this opportunity to catch his breath and build up to a final thrust to take him up to and beyond Capelli in the Leyton House.
Well, he's got 19 laps to do it. Nannini third, Senna fourth. car we can hear is actually De Cesaris.
Well, after we went across that bit of ground, I'm not surprised it sounds more than entitled to do that.
Possibly a broken exhaust pipe, that sort of noise. So Capelli still leads, Alain Prost is attacking.
Fino a questo momento 1.08.373 al 62esimo giro ha portato il suo vantaggio nei confronti di Prost a 1 secondo 0.37, terzo Nannini a 8.5 da Prost, quarto Senna a 2.4 da Nannini. Vedete citato il giro veloce di Capelli a 200 e 753 all'ora. Dietro a Senna, quinto Piquet, sesto Berger, settimo Patrese, ottavo Mansell. Veramente eccezionale la corsa che sta facendo Ivan Capelli, tallonato da Prost che in questo giro ha perso 1/10 nei confronti dell'italiano, terzo Nannini a 9 secondi e 2, il distacco che vedete tra Capelli e Prost è quello del giro precedente, adesso è 1 e 156. Quindi Senna è a 2 secondi circa Nannini.
You're back live here at Paul Ricard. There is the AGS in problems. You want to know if Capelli is still leading? He is. There he is. Capelli 1.1 seconds ahead of Alain Prost, but it looks a little closer. Capelli, Prost, Nannini, Senna is 4th, Piquet 5th, Berger 6th, Patrese 7th, Mansell languishing down in 8th spot, must have problems. Suzuki is 9th. And there we are, in fact, in the 10th place car of Eric Bernard. In fact, Bernard has just been lapped by the flying Capelli. Still he leads. This is the 65th lap, 15 laps to go. There is Alain Prost chasing. The gap now down to 0.6 of a second. Is Prost going to make a challenge on the next lap? Capelli, the former Formula 3 European champion, the former Formula 3000 champion. Capelli leads. He has only led one Grand Prix before. That was Japan a couple of years ago, and he led it for literally a corner, or a couple of corners. This time he has led the race for over 20 laps now. Capelli, Prost, Nannini. Yes, Capelli actually took the lead on lap 33 and he has held on to it. Remember, he has not made a stop for fresh tyres. Mansell has made 2 stops. Prost has made 1 stop. Most of the rest have made 1 stop. And the gap, 0.8 of a second between Capelli and Prost. Nannini still 3rd. Well, who said a V8 couldn't win Grand Prix these days?
Well, when we said V8 didn't win, we might have expected the new Ford engine to be the V8 that did the winning. I think not many people gave the Judd V8 very much consideration, and especially in the Leyton House car. I think there's going to be a lot of people after this race banging on John Judd's door.
Well, one team that won't be banging on his door, of course, is Leyton House, because they have a new engine being designed by Ilmore. That's the outfit in England which I believe Roger Penske has an interest in, and they've designed that very successful Chevy Indy engine, and now they've moved on to a Formula 1 engine which they're designing for Leyton House. But with this sort of performance, I suspect that there will be teams wanting to get hold of these Judd engines. this narrow-angle Judd engine. I did hear a little rumour that there was some Japanese influence in that engine. In fact, the same man who was involved with the Honda 1.5 litre turbocharged engine. And I don't know, it'd be interesting to get that confirmed, but I know that is not to put down John Judd's effort. It's a fantastic effort to design and build these engines, and this car with the Judd motor still leads, but Alain Prost is challenging again.
Yes, Prost now right on Capelli's gearbox, but yet again in this corner he has to back off. He can't maintain the closeness to the gearbox of Capelli's march, but look at him, much quicker into the corner, potentially much quicker all the way through the corner, but there is no room there to get around another car. So all those efforts on Alain Prost, really to no avail whatsoever. What he may try to do is just pressure Capelli, make him use his mirrors, make him actually begin to drive looking in his mirrors rather than looking forward. But so far that ploy not working, and Capelli maintaining his lead.
Martin Donnelly was a quick pit visitor, but he's still running in 14th place, taking on another set of tyres. Capelli on lap 68 leads Prost by 0.6 of a second according to our monitor. It looks much closer there. Capelli, Prost, third is Nardini, Senna is fourth. Well, what can Prost do about this Italian? The man from Milan holding off Prost. Can he get by, John?
He's tried a lot. Potentially he ought to get by. Now I think he's again dropping back that little bit to give himself a chance to catch his breath, to build up that momentum, and it is the momentum that you build up during these laps that can take you up to a car and carry you past. Once you get caught behind somebody, and if you get too close particularly, you lose the momentum. So it sometimes pays to drop back maybe up to a second, then prepare and start that charge forward again, and hopefully you time it in such a way that you take advantage of the car you want to pass at the weakest part of the lap for that other car.
There's good battle going on down in 7th place. Tracy holding off Mansell. Gap now shown as 0.9 of a second here on the monitor. Going into the last 10 laps. This is currently lap number 69.
Again, a moment of stress coming up for Capelli. There are a couple of slower cars that are to be lapped. One of them is a Lola Lamborghini. The other is the Cesarus. He's got past the Cesarus now. Prost has got that task ahead of him. He's through safely. But still 2 cars ahead of Capelli, and these are the moments when really traffic can work to the advantage of Alain Prost. Mansell now back in the tail of Berger, who's on the tail of Patrese, who's on the tail of Berger. Mansell on a third set of tyres. But likewise, not really seeming to have any advantage from those fresh tyres, Andrew.
No, seems to be very evenly matched. Of course, Gugelmin is now back in the pits. Do you think he will be able to tell the team anything about the condition of the tyres, just to ease their nerves a little bit?
Yes, he will, but of course the team will be talking to Capelli, and the true indicator of the situation is the stopwatch. They can judge Capelli's lap speed. He's just on a 1.9.2, Prost is on a 1.90, so there can't be too much wrong with Capelli's tyres. He can run at that speed at this point in the race. Again, using the traffic, Prost trying to slide through underneath Modona's Brabham. Both get through cleanly now. Cola. Oh dear, no, that was unfortunate. Capelli having to back off. Losing time when he shouldn't really be thinking about it. He wants to be through. He would like to have been ahead of the Lola and put Prost in that situation, but now under acceleration down here. Let's see who's got the most power.
Yes, well, Suzuki moves over. Capelli goes through.
A real dogfight going on there. Mansell, Berger and Patrese. Capelli stretching his lead right at this stage. Prost getting very badly held up by Suzuki's Lula Lamborghini, and Capelli's almost got a 2-second lead again. That will not have impressed Alain Prost at all. And look at the gap, you're talking almost 3 seconds. And that was all lost in that one little section of track between the pit straight and the main back straight.
Still this battle continues. Capelli versus Prost. Nannini is third, Senna fourth, then it's Piquet. Tremendous battle here at the French Grand Prix at Paul Ricard. Capelli into the last 10 laps. Can he hold the lead? We'll be back to bring you the closing stages in just a moment.
17 decimi da Mansell, adesso 7. 71esimo giro, Capelli ha un vantaggio di 2 secondi e 7 nei confronti di Prost. 7 Palazzoli, tutti dovuti a dei doppiaggi difficili o forse c'è qualche altro problema?
No, è dipeso dai doppiaggi, io penso che altri problemi non ci siano, vedremo subito, io anzi penso che Prost in questo giro farà uno dei suoi giri migliori, sta tirando alla morte, non vuole lasciarselo scappare, oltretutto deve spicciarsi perché di giri ne mancano veramente pochi. Certo che Capelli sta facendo una gara incredibile, magnifica, e sono contentissimo perché ormai molti si erano dimenticato di questo ragazzo che invece è modesto, simpatico, guida molto bene. Certo, i nostri cuori sono un po' divisi.
71esimo giro concluso, Capelli sempre al comando, 2 secondi e 2 di vantaggio, Prost di 1.8.212, che è il suo miglior tempo contro l'1.8.012.
You're back with a scintillating struggle in the south of France. Capelli is still the leader. He has lengthened the gap to 2.1 seconds over Alain Prost. Nannini is 4 seconds behind Prost. Senna is another 4 seconds behind Nannini. Look at the leaders we've had. The first 27 laps were led by Gerhard Berger. Senna then led lap 28, 29 and 30. Mansell led on lap 31, Patrese on lap 32, and then it was Capelli from lap 33, and he is still in the lead. John, your comment?
The 2-second lead that Capelli has in Alain Prost was the result of Prost getting very badly held up in traffic. Capelli got through cleanly, took advantage, opened up a 2.7-second gap, but that is now down to 2.1, and by the time they come past the start-finish line in this lap, as somebody blows up, just coming out of scene, that will put oil down, and that is a Ferrari. It is Nigel Mansell. Major problem for Mansell. Yes, the left-hand bank of the Ferrari is spewing smoke. He pulls off onto the gravel. Nigel Mansell's race finished for this French Grand Prix. Major hemorrhage somewhere. They might say it was an oil leak, but what they mean is there's about a 3-foot gap on the side of the engine. But Prost now 1.6 seconds behind Capelli, making up the time he lost in traffic. And here we see Mansell again, the engine blowing up. That's going to put a lot of oil down on the exit of that very fast-in corner. I hope the marshals get the oil flags out. And Riccardo Patrese locking up right front wheel coming into the corner just at the end of the pit straight.
Two Lotuses running together. Warwick and Donnelly in the 11th and 12th spots. Sorry, 13th and 14th spots.
And now Alain Prost within half a second of Capelli as they come across the line. 0.646.
The final 5 laps. Can Prost do it? Or will Capelli manage to hold him off? Capelli, they need nerve to steer on these closing 5 laps. The helicopter hovers above. Now the gap is 0.6 of a second.
And again, Capelli has traffic ahead of him. He got the advantage in the last little bit of traffic. He's gone through the inside, Prost through as well. Well observed.
Yeah.
These two can continue on inhibited in this battle the closing stages of the 1990 French Grand Prix, Ivan Capelli. And remember, he has not stopped for tyres. Alain Prost did stop just before half distance, had fresh tyres, but Ivan Capelli is on the tyres. He started the race, and that, I think, is the most amazing feature of Capelli's drive in this race.
Yeah, 6 seconds between Prost and third place Nannini. And Prost continues the attack. But Capelli certainly seems to have his measure at the moment. Capelli, Prost, Nannini, Senna, Piquet and Berger. After 75, they are now working on the 76th lap. Under the bridge, down that long straight, up to 195 miles an hour. Crank it in right without lifting off the throttle. Tremendous G-forces as they enter the corner, tugging their heads sideways.
Prost quick off the corner that time, much quicker than he'd been previously, going very, very wide. Not able to use, having a look up the inside. Oh my goodness. Prost really is giving us a wonderful exhibition. He's got 3 laps left in which he can make an attempt to get past, but see how much quicker he came up on Capelli that lap. Had to go the long way round to avoid running into the back of Capelli's car, then dived right under Capelli, but Capelli had the line, is far enough ahead, shut the door on Prost. Prost off the throttle, hard on the brakes, dropping back another couple of tenths.
Well, I think we may be seeing history in the making here, John. If I'm not mistaken, if Capelli wins, he will be the first ever driver to wear glasses to win a Grand Prix.
Or contact lenses in the case.
Same thing. Don't argue with me. Senna now shown third. There is Ayrton Senna. It looks as if Senna has moved up. Capelli, Prost, Senna.
I think we saw Nannini's car possibly just to the right on the straight, just the camera's too far down the straight. I think there's a Benetton Ford stopped on the straight, and that would indicate, confirm that Ayrton Senna now has moved into third spot, but he is 10 seconds behind Alain Prost. Much too much time for Senna to try and take Prost's slot.
That means that Patrese moves up to 6th place. Capelli, Prost, Senna, Piquet, Berger, Patrese. This is lap number 77 of the 80. Well, most unfortunate there for the Benetton team. So close to the finish. David Brabham's still going. He's currently in 17th spot. That's the same engine as the car that is leading the race. But obviously, work needed on that chassis. He is, of course, running different tyres also. Prost very close.
Yes, he's having another rush up to the back of Capelli. Again, staying as close as he dare. Look at the speed off the corner. Now he's going down the inside. Prost has taken the lead. Finally, 2 laps to go. Alain Prost has passed Ivan Capelli. He was just so much quicker through the corner, and especially off the corner. The acceleration off the corner gave him the opportunity to pass Capelli. Now Alain Prost, all he has to do, look at the speed of the car. There's about almost 10 miles an hour difference in that part of the circuit. Prost has done what he did to Ayrton Senna last year, repeated the medicine to Ivan Capelli this year, but does not take anything whatsoever away from the performance of Capelli from the Judd engine, the Leyton House. It's been absolutely superb, and he has been the star of the race.
Well, that was the true experience of Prost. Look at the fans, they love it. They go absolutely wild, and Prost had rehearsed that. This is lap number 79 now. A lap and a half left of an absolutely sensational French Grand Prix. We've seen several leaders. There's the Ferrari pit. Is Prost going to make it 2 in a row? Is this going to be Ferrari's victory number 100? It's certainly looking that way. There is Prost already pulling away from Capelli. Prost it is. Where's Capelli? The Ferrari flags wave. There's Capelli. Capelli is lying in 2nd place. He's going to have to settle for that. It's Alain Prost leading. Prost, he left his challenge late, but Prost is in the lead. Prost leads here at Ricard in his home circuit. Prost heading for the French hat-trick. crosses the line. The official raises his hand, 1 lap to go. Alain knows that so well. Just over 2 miles between him and the checkered flag. Capelli, what thoughts are running through his head now? It will still be the greatest success of his career to finish second. He led the race from lap number 33 all the way through to lap 78. He'll just be hoping and praying that the Judd engine holds together now. Prost, Capelli, Senna, that is the top 3. Here at Paul Ricard, you've seen it live from the starting light to the checkered flag, which is coming up in just 30-40 seconds time now. Prost, the confidence and arrogance of the man who has won more Grand Prix than anyone else in history. Alain Prost heading towards the flag for Ferrari. Ferrari scoring their second successive victory. We saw them win in Mexico. Now we see Alain Prost win the French Grand Prix. His third successive win. Victory number 100 for Ferrari. Alain Prost wins. What about Capelli? Capelli finishes second. He's delighted. He's almost caught by Senna. He pulls off. But it's definitely second to Capelli. It's third to Ayrton. Senna putting in a very quick lap. Capelli presumably in problems. There is Prost, the points. Senna 35, Prost 32, Berger 25, Piquet 15, Mansell 13, Alesi 13. Prost, Capelli, Senna. The fourth man has yet to come to the line. What a race, John. Just to say quickly, Piquet now finishes 4th, Berger is in 5th spot. Well, we're going for a break after that sensational victory there by Alain Prost. The flags wave, the Ferrari flags, the oil flags, every flag is waving. We'll be back to see the closing ceremony in just a few moments.
Soddisfatto che ringrazia l'equipe della Ferrari. Il papà di volevamo sentire la gioia di questa Ferrari che in effetti è rimasta contenuta per parecchio tempo, proprio perché also okay, eh? This is the second time, eh? It's a very lucky situation, this one, eh? Sta andando tutto per il meglio, tutta la fortuna sta girando bene, ma devo dire anche che è tutto un discorso molto importante per quanto riguarda la preparazione di questi motori, quindi non è una fortuna, questi motori che stanno veramente dando i risultati sperati, la ricerca e tutto il resto fanno veramente una macchina vincente di questa Ferrari. Ingegner Castelli, però mi dirà adesso che sta piangendo, no? Era un po' di polvere che era entrata così negli occhi, si dice così.
Direi che la 100ª vittoria fa sempre piacere, anche se è poco che sono in Ferrari comunque.
Quindi 100 vittorie a suggellare questa supremazia che sta avvenendo, ormai è un'affermazione, diciamo pure, buttiamo via tutte le frasi scaramantiche, anche ieri dicevamo ma non è il caso, la pole va bene, dopo 3 anni però è importante la gara. Ecco, la gara è importante, la gara l'abbiamo vinta, allora?
Ma direi che bisogna sempre stare coi piedi per terra, però ecco, oggi è stata una gara che ha confermato le prestazioni di ieri. Peccato che Nigel non sia riuscito a finire la corsa, adesso vedremo che problemi ha avuto. Comunque diciamo che la macchina va molto bene, ecco, quindi abbiamo raggiunto anche una buona affidabilità. Lei è un grosso pilota, quindi abbiamo tutti gli elementi per fare un bel mondiale.
Ecco, sta facendo adesso il giro d'onore. Un'altra cosa noi volevamo.
There is Alain Prost and there is the trophy that he has won. Prost winning his home French Grand Prix for his 5th time. John, your comments. A great drive by Alain Prost, but what about Capelli too?
Well, that was an absolutely unpredictable but fantastic performance from Capelli, from the Leyton House, from the Judd engine. But ultimately, he paid the penalty of not having a pit stop. He benefited from it by leading over half race distance, but at the end of the day, Prost was quicker where it counted. He was quicker off that long, fast teen corner. He accelerated off it so much more quickly than Capelli, and he used that momentum to dive down the inside and take the lead. And all Capelli could do once he had lost the lead was really he had just to back off. His last lap was 5 seconds slower than that of Alain Prost. He was physically tired, the tyres are completely shot, but what a performance.
Let's just go through all the positions. Prost, Capelli, Senna, Piquet, Berger, Patrese. You know that, that's the top 6. 7th was Suzuki, 8th Bernard, 9th Alio, 10th Alboreto in the Arrows, 11th Warwick, 12th Donnelly, 13th Modena, in 14th place Nicola Larini. Andrea De Cesaris made it in 15th spot, and David Brabham, I think that's his first finish in a Grand Prix, 16th. So they're the top 16. That's the pit road, absolutely throbbing with people now. They're getting ready with the victory ceremonies. Let's just remember that Capelli led from lap 33. There's the championship points. McLaren-Honda with 60, Ferrari 45, Benetton Ford 23, Williams, Renault 21, Tyrrell Ford 14, Leyton House up to 6th with 6, and then Arrows and Brabham. John.
Well, Andrew, all I can think about now is next Sunday at Silverstone, the British round of the World Championship. If that's how the Leyton House is going to perform at Paul Ricard, there's going to be so many people now who are going to go there and expect a performance of the same level we've seen here from Capelli and Gugelmin, and it is entirely conceivable. We have seen the car and the engine have got the straight-down performance. The car has got the handling. Gugelmin and Capelli did a superb job. So now have we got 5 teams capable of winning a Grand Prix?
Yes, let's not forget those testing results in our qualifying show on Friday. Of course, we showed quite a lot of the test exclusively on Eurosport. Nigel Mansell, very quick round Silverstone. In fact, at that test, Leyton House weren't particularly impressive. They had improved a bit, but they've made a quantum leap from there. There in slow motion, we see Prost waving to his fans. The man who's won more Grand Prix than anybody else. His 5th victory in the French Grand Prix. The 100th victory for Ferrari. So I think Silverstone may be a slightly different situation. Certainly we're looking forward to that race, John. Of course, you'll be able to see it live on Eurosport. The empty track. Everyone will be leaving the track now. A very difficult circuit to actually get away from. Just one road and horrendous traffic jams last year. Well, let's look at that magic moment when Alain Prost actually took the lead. There it is, John. Just describe it again.
Prost got himself positioned perfectly. He was close to him, close enough to maintain the speed through the corner, but it was the acceleration off the corner. At this point, Capelli's car is losing speed. His tyres have not got the grip. He can't get the throttle open. Look at how quickly Prost is rushing up to the back of Capelli. Even before the exit, he's pulling out and ready to prepare for that shot down the inside into this double right-hand corner. Once he got alongside of him, that was the end of the story. Prost had the lead. Capelli had to accept second place, and of course that was the place Prost was looking to pass throughout the race. He tried it with Patrese, he didn't succeed, but he did it with Capelli. He has done it when it counted, and he won the race.
Yes, confirmation that the victory margin was 8.6 seconds. Senna was 2.9 seconds behind Senna. And we'll just have a look at those championship standings again. We'll be recapping on those as the flags wave. And look at that chap jumping up and down. He certainly enjoyed it. Well, the championship standings coming up in just a moment. There is Prost, and there are the standings at last. Senna 35, Prost 32, Berger 25, Piquet 16, Mansell and Lazy both with 13. Disappointing race for several teams, John. Williams must be a little disappointed. Although, of course, they did lead the race. Just recap what happened. Berger led for the first 27 laps. Then Ayrton Senna on lap 28. He led for 3 laps. Mansell led for 1 lap. That time there was various pit stops going on. Patrese led for a couple of laps. And then it was Capelli on lap 33, right through to lap 79. And then, of course, Prost nipped through just at the right time. And this was the end result. Victory for Alain Prost. The little man now lives on the shores of Lake Geneva. A man that you raced with, John, in the same team.
Yes, Alain Prost was my partner in 1980. But really, the French Grand Prix for 1990 is over. I'm looking forward to next week. Nigel Mansell, Prost's teammate, I'm sure will hope for a better weekend at Silverstone. Remember, he's got that magic ingredient, people power. So Alain Prost may have benefited from it today. I'm sure everybody around the circuit was wanting Prost to win, certainly judging by the response from the marshals and the people around the track. They got the result they wanted. Mansell may well be wishing for the same outcome next Sunday at Silverstone. But let's not forget the Leyton House. Complete dark horse. nobody imagined that we would ever see Ivan Capelli standing on second spot alongside Alain Prost and Ayrton Senna.
Well, there's Prost, the national anthem of France has played. Can't beat a home win at a Grand Prix. It really gets the crowd going. Capelli looks fairly shattered, John.
Yes, he is. I mean, he has driven an absolutely blinding race, both physically, but I would say mentally. His exhaustion, I suspect, comes more from mental tiredness than physical tiredness. The March, the Leyton House car, is a physically very small car anyway. It's not the most comfortable car of all the Grand Prix cars around, so that has also contributed. But emotionally, the guy has driven the race of his life. He probably believed he could win it, and then a lap and a half from the end, that little Frenchman receiving his awards from President Jean-Marie Balest slid through. Emotional fatigue all over Ivan Capelli's face, but what a drive! I mean, just truly fantastic.
There is Capelli in the Leyton House, and they will definitely not have to worry about pre-qualifying anymore. What a fillip, what a boost for the team. Again, I'll say it, I wonder what thoughts are going through the mind of Adrian Newey now, the man who designed that car, the man who has just left the team.
Well, I suppose you can look at it the other way, Andrew. He's joined Frank Williams with the Renault engine. Patrese and Boutsen might have a sort of a wry smile on their faces, thinking, well, if Newey really was as good as his reputation led him to be believed, what can he do at Williams?
Well, there's Cesare Fiorio, got his name right this time, John.
Yes.
And with no champagne being sprayed, it's a little strange, and it looks as if they're going off to be interviewed, and we might be able to eavesdrop that. So we're waiting, viewers, to bring you the comments of the men, Alain Prost in particular, Ivan Capelli, Ayrton Senna. That is coming up. Of course, after this, the Tour de France will be coming up. Just about 5 minutes or so to the Tours de France live. Of course, tonight we've got the World Cup. What a day it is for sport. Can't remember a day like this for sport. There's the Paul Ricard circuit. Look at that surging mass of people. Normally they have the victory rostrum arranged so that the drivers can walk straight out from that into the interview room. Here they have to get off that victory rostrum, push their way through the people. I think there's to tell you it's an absolutely beautiful day. The Tour de France, stage 8 coming up. There, that's north of here to Besançon. That's coming up soon. 17:40 in Europe, 16:40 in the UK. That's a news wrap-up that we're going to have. That's coming from here. We'll be back after we've seen the interviews. And, of course, the World Cup tonight. John, who do you fancy?
Who's playing?
He knows, really. Well, the World Cup on at 1800 hours in the UK. I'm sure you'll all be glued to the screen for that. Renault have actually laid on a special feed of the World Cup here at the circuit, Argentina and West Germany. You knew it all the time, didn't you? Who came fourth, John?
The Cameroons.
Yeah, they were sensational, weren't they? Well, there is the press room. Well, we'll be hearing from the drivers later. That is taking rather longer than we expected to come to us. So hopefully we'll have that. So here from a hot and very excited Paul Ricard, from John Watson, from myself, Andrew Marriott. We've thoroughly enjoyed it. Absolutely super race here at Ricard. John, quick goodbye from you.
Well, fantastic race. Join us next Sunday, live from Silverstone, the British Grand Prix.
It was a very difficult race. In fact, it was because of the tires. I think the tires were quite good, but when you were behind the car, it was absolutely impossible to overtake, or very difficult to overtake. I think today the March and Ivan and Mauricio were very, very good. It was a big surprise in the race. They did not stop. I don't think I had to stop anywhere because of the wear problem, but I could not overtake Patrese the first part of the race, and it was very, very difficult for me to stay behind him. So I decided to stop early, and when I was alone the car was quite good, but when I was behind them it was very, very difficult. Even not possible to overtake in the straight. My car was not quick enough. But also I must say because their car was quite good exit of the corners.
Your 42nd win that takes you just 3 points behind championship leader Ayrton Senna. The championship's looking very real for you now.
Yes, it's better than 3 weeks ago, but I would say that the most important thing is to work well and to try to develop the car again, chassis and engine, as we have done in the last 2 months, and I'm quite happy at the moment with the work done in the team, and this success is not only my success, it's the success of the Ferrari team, because they work very hard at the moment. I had a big hole in the left rear tire. I knew that because I had a big vibration, and I wanted to push harder, but sometimes end of this straight and sometimes in the fast corner my car was very difficult to drive. Big vibration too, and you know, when you drive a car, especially through Signe, if you have a big vibration, it's not very comfortable. But I was decided to do everything I could in the last 3 laps anyway.
Yeah, I have a very difficult start because I touched my front left with the boots, and so I initially have some vibration in the front left. Then, as Prost, I had some problem in the beginning of the race for overtake other cars in front of me because my V8, the Judd, wasn't enough quicker to overtake people. So I have to wait for the others to stop because I knew that everybody there was stopped for tires. So I actually tried to save tires and brakes, and just to concentrate to stay in the line and not to actually build up the temperature in the tires. Then at the end, unfortunately, when I was in front of Prost, I had some problem with the oil lights of the engine, and so in the last 2 laps the engine started to have problems, and I'm lucky to finish second.
Conservative, we were in the harder compound than Capelli or Prost, but third place will count at the end of the year in this championship, and I am actually very happy to be third, given the circumstance, the difficulties during the 3 days to set up the car, and some difficulties during the race, of course. I'm very happy for the third place. Now I'm looking forward to England. I think our car will run well there. It's going to be tough because the championship is very competitive now. Different cars are always there, different drivers. And then Hockenheim. I think we have a good chance also in Hockenheim. So let's see if somehow I can have a clear run on the next few races.
So in France, a brilliant fifth victory for Alain Prost, with in second position, equally brilliant, Ivan Capelli. Third, Ayrton, Senna, and fourth, Nelson Piquet. Fifth in the second McLaren, Gerhard Berger. Sixth, Riccardo Patrese. And that means to say that Ayrton Senna, a weekend before the British Grand Prix at Silverstone, only leads the World Championship by 3 points from Alain Prost. Down to third goes Berger. Piquet is fourth. Fifth equal, Alesi and Mansell, ahead of Boutsen and Patrese. McLaren now leads the Constructors' Championship by just 15 points from Ferrari, with Benetton third, Williams down to fourth, and Tyrrell and Leyton House fifth and sixth. So a magnificent French Grand Prix which sets the scene for next weekend's